Good morning, algebra kiddos. This is lesson 4-1, proportional relationships / rates. This is an important unit. It has all to do with linear relationships, graphing lines, stuff like that. Stuff that you definitely touched upon as a 8th grader with Mrs. Goodhue or whomever you had for 8th grade math. But definitely going to look at it a little bit more in depth this year. So, starting off with a unit rate first off. A unit rate is something that has that denominator of 1. It's like per one thing. And I say thing very generically. You know, a thing could be anything. Shocking, right? So, examples of unit rate could be something like $5 per 1 hour. You know, 7 dogs per 1 shelter. Things like that with one piece there. You find unit rates by doing division, right? Unit rates are calculated by doing division. If I tell you that I bought 75 books, that's a little insane. 75, what's a normal thing to buy 75 of? I don't know. We'll be ridiculous. If I bought 75 books for, let's say, $2,000, I would find a unit rate by doing how many dollars per book by setting up that division. And 2,000 divided by 75, I don't know what that is off the top of my head at all. 2,000 divided 75. So about approximately 26.67 dollars per book, right? Division to find that unit rate there. Two variables have a proportional relationship, which is what this is all about. If there is a constant ratio between the two variables, if x and y have a constant ratio, you know, if for every time x goes up by 1, y goes up by 2. They have that constant ratio or a constant rate of change. Keywords. The equation, constant ratio between the two variables. We're going to write something about that. So the two variables that we use most common are x and y, right? We don't always have to use x and y, but we usually use those. Those equal what is called a k, or that constant ratio, which is also known as a constant unit rate. That's why that comes into play. When we're talking about a ratio, remember back from like 7th grade math with me or with whomever you had for 7th grade math, that a ratio is simply just a comparison. Comparison, there we go. Is a comparison of, or between is actually the word I want, two quantities. Or two variables, x and y. There are 3 different ways that you can write ratios. I'm sure you're remembering using the words to the colon and the fraction. We will always write ratios using fractions. We will always write ratios with fractions. Y divided by x. Okay, and last but not least, the last thing we are going to look at for these notes part is the equation when you're dealing with a proportional relationship. The equation that I learned or taught to you back in 7th grade was that y equals kx, where k is that constant unit rate or that constant ratio, where k is your unit rate. And remember, when you're doing this, let's go light blue, you are only supposed to fill in the k. X and y are going to stay as x and y. So if you're looking at an example of one of these equations, it could be something like y equals 5x. The only piece that gets filled in is that k to start with when you're making that generic equation. All right, that was a lot of stuff for the beginning there, but we'll take a look at our examples next.